The free agent frenzy has begun. The Chiefs are pursuing some players we need to talk about. They might keep one in-house. They missed out on a couple, and they may have dodged a couple of bullets. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, folks. Thanks for making us your first listen. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Network, and your team every day for free on every platform, including YouTube. If you'd like, sub and hit the bell over there, we would appreciate it, as well as all the audio podcasts. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, home of the Athletic Matrix, the host at RGR Football, husband, father, terrible driver, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm a decent driver. I'm a terrible speller. But thanks for checking this out as well as Locked On NFL Draft. We appreciate your first listen. If you'd like the draft so your second, I would certainly appreciate it. This is my comic partner in crime, Chris Clark.
Yeah, and I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am a father as well, although I don't know how that really plays in. But I also founded Chiefs Corner. You can go check that out. Lots of stuff is going to be going up over the next couple of weeks. Free agency, contracts, statistics, analytics. That's what we're going to dive into at Chiefs Corner. So be sure to check that out. A lot going on in the NFL around the league. Not so much in Kansas City right now, but if you're Jacksonville Jaguar, I guess you are busy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's busy. Is there anyone who isn't a Jaguar at this point? Because it certainly feels like it. And that's one of the bullets that we're going to talk about in the third segment. But folks, go check out Chiefs Corner. You need all that to know what is going on with the cap, the positions, how it all fits in. Chris's work is legible and readable, and it's a Substack, unlike my own. So you got to check that out for the written word. A couple of guys that they're in on supposedly. What we've gotten through this process is all the super contracts are done. We are going to talk about some of those as they relate to the Chiefs here later in the show. But right now, we understand that they are still pursuing Allen Robinson.
Yep.
That seems to have mutual
That's surprising.
interest. Is it?
It is to
it's
me.
Not to me.
It is to me
Okay.
Just because of age. I understand wanting to go get a free agent, but I did not expect them to be on Allen Robinson. So it's surprising to me in that regard.
I think a lot of people thought that this was not a possibility because of the relationship with Matt Nagy, because of him being down on what happened in Chicago. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that the quarterbacks were the limiting factor there, and that Allen was okay with Nagy in that Nagy had to say, listen, we can't get too complex. I need you to do these couple of things. I need you to run 1,000 hitches for these quarterbacks that can't get you the ball anywhere else.
Yeah, how crazy was that stat?
Yeah, right. And thanks for Seth Wilder and Seth Kaiser for pointing that out to us, because I think that goes with the feeling that I had that it wasn't like butting heads for Allen Robinson and Matt Nagy, but they were stuck in a situation neither of them could completely fix. And so maybe that allows them, to be at this point on the older end of the scale, which for Andy Reid, I think is a plus because he feels like a guy with that much experience and playing for Nagy should be able to walk into the offense and contribute and not have to have that lag time for learning the offense.
That's a great point.
It's probably a pretty short contract too, is my guess. 2 years, maybe 3.
Yeah, but that's a very good point that I didn't even thought about when it came to Allen Robinson. Is he ran a similar system in Chicago with Nagy, so more than likely he's going to be able to step into the offense a little bit quicker and know most of the positions. So I do think that plays into it. It's just very interesting how this wide receiver group is shaking out right now. Christian Kirk has gotten the first deal, but Juju Smith-Schuster, who is the guy that I know, he's 25, but he hasn't even gotten talked about right now. Chark has gotten talked about a little bit. MVS, Valdez-Scantling has been talked about, who supposedly Kansas City is in on as well. I've seen that. A lot of different things going on. Really quick, though, when you start talking about Kansas City and free agency, one thing did break before free agency started. Kansas City was trying to re-sign Darrell Williams. It did not work out. And kind of as free agency was kicking off, it came out that Frank Clark is looking to restructure with Kansas City, and they're working on that. That is very interesting because I did not expect that.
I'm shocked by that. Well, not shocked. I'm surprised by that. We're going to get to Frank's contract and one other that they need to be working on. They are working on right now in the second segment, but I want to stick with the wide receivers for just a minute because Allen Robinson is one. That doesn't mean it gets done.
Right.
But the other thing that I'm hearing right now, this time of day, is that the fallout in Cleveland has actually piqued the Chiefs' interest, is the best way to put it. It's very early days at this point. It is a basic outreach to find out what Jarvis Landry is looking for. And that number, I think, and that commitment in terms of years, I think is going to be very central to what the Chiefs could even consider doing, given that I think the number's going to be a little bit high, on par probably with Robinson's. And I think the time, the length of the contract he might be looking for is even longer. But to hear it not just be that, hey, a guy got released that you think could maybe do some work in this offense, but to hear that there's actually been some contact reached out and established at this point as a basis for moving forward, that's intriguing to me as well. I don't think that they could do both. Do you?
They could. Will they? I don't think they will, but they could potentially. And the reason I say they could is you can structure contracts however you really want. Christian Kirk, I know we're going to talk about that in the third segment, but that's a fantastic point as to how somebody can structure a contract and not worry about really what it costs in the current year. So I think that they could do multiple deals with multiple wide receivers. I do find it interesting that Jarvis Landry is the guy that they're looking at. I do want to also throw this out. When you're talking about Jarvis Landry, you're also talking about a guy like A.J. Bouye and Zadarius Smith, and the fact that those guys aren't going to count against compensatory picks in 2023, sorry. And that is actually really big because Kansas City could lose a ton of free agents and be in store for a lot of picks if they go and sign the right guys.
Yeah, and we have to talk about Smith in particular as it relates to Frank Clark. I'm not taking bets, but if I was going to make them on the basketball tournament that's just about to lift off, Jags are number one seed, by the way, or whether it is who lands where, because there are props everywhere about who's going to end up where. Everybody seems to be going for Florida. It's either Tampa Bay or Jacksonville right now. You can lay all those odds over at BetOnline, where you can get all the scores, podcasts, news, updates that you need to be smart about what you're going to wager on. You can head over there and check it out today, as well as all the March Madness betting that is available. That's over on their new website that you can check out from your mobile and check all the trends in action and get into the mix of it. Bet online, where the game starts. Now, we mentioned Frank Clark. The fact that they're trying to redo and restructure a contract for Frank Clark, have you played with these numbers yet? Because for me, there's only one situation that makes sense, and that is he is a guy that can play on first down, manage setting the edge, and give way either by moving inside or coming off the field to a designated pass rusher on third down.
Potentially. I think that what you could be looking at with Frank Clark is his base salary for 2022 right now is $19 million, I believe. So that is part of the reason he is so expensive. I think that that's something that they're trying to figure out. If they were to cut him, they are going to be accelerated and have like a $13.6 million dead money and $12.7 million in cap savings. So if he's willing to reduce his base salary to basically what his dead money would be, if they cut him like around 6.8 million, then they would basically be coming out about a wash, and probably closer to 6.3 million because he has a workout bonus as well, assuming he's going to get that. Lots of different things that they could do with his contract. I would think that if you were Frank Clark, you have to be looking at the market and saying, yeah, some of these guys are getting $15 million a year, but I didn't have a very good year last year. So this is my chance to go get into the ring and maybe chase another contract after this year. I don't know.
I think that's all relevant. I think it's also a scenario that the older edge rushers are not getting. We haven't heard a peep about Chandler Jones yet.
Yep.
There are some legit pass rushers like Smith that we'll talk about in a second on the market now. And quite frankly, he's got a legal issue hanging over his head. Yep. It could be that he gets released and he gets whatever the residual is on his money, and then he doesn't get another contract rather than being gainfully employed. So for me, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm saying, listen, we'll take you down to what it would cost us anyway. So 6.8 as a cap number sounds really great to me. And here, by the way, we'll give you $4 million in incentives. Prove to us that you can be the pass rusher we thought.
But it won't be 6.8 because he's already on the hook for 6.8 right now with his prorated signing bonus. So he would have to take a salary of around 6.8, which would get him to a number of about 13.5.
Oh, I thought you were saying he could get all the way down to 6.8. Okay, fine.
No.
Still,
that's it's a huge reduction. Yeah, I mean, his cap number right now is 26.3. So
if you get him to 13,
you basically that's freeing up $13 million in cap space. That's a fantastic deal for Kansas City if they can get it done. And when you start talking about guys like Zadarius Smith, that's another question mark because he's coming off a back surgery. And he is another player, like I said before, that would not count against a compensatory pick in 2023 because he was cut by the Packers.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I could see them making overtures there. And again, this is somebody that's beat up. You're at the bumper off the truck. Like you can get a discount there.
But he's at least played a lot better. Sorry, I just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The backstory is the thing that until today I had kind of been like, hey, man, I just don't want to touch that because as we know, from Mitch Schwartz to D Ford to whoever else you want to talk about, serious back injuries do not heal in the NFL. The yearly cycle does not allow for it, and so that has me a bit scared. But you do that and you supplement with a Melvin or something like that on a 1-4 when he doesn't get the market that he wants again. Like now you have 3 legit veteran pass rushers. You can draft another. You have Kano and Dana. Like you have a 3-man deep pass rush that you feel you can get something out of.
Yeah, and I think that's where Kansas needs to look because there is a lot of question marks going on. Ogbo was signed. We didn't mention that. He got a deal right before free agency started, so he's off the market as well. So you're not going to get a chance to get very good pass rushers in this class in free agency unless you're going to pay a lot of money. Hassan Reddick also signed. That's another one that went out the door.
Big deal there.
Yep, big deal there. And I think he's probably going to be – I think that's a good signing by the Eagles. That's my personal opinion right now. But we'll see how that ends up playing out. Lots of different players are getting money. It just doesn't seem like the older edge guys are. And that does bring you to a question of, is Darius Smith going to be a guy that they could bring in and get for, a cheaper deal? Is it possible? And since he was hurt last year, you could give him some very easy to hit incentives. Like if you play 16 games, you get like a $5 million bonus. And that's not considered not likely to be earned. That way it doesn't go against the salary cap this year. Yes, it hamstrings them in 2023 a bit if he does it, but you're willing to do that because he gives you the pass rush. And if he's playing, that helps your defense.
And if you have 3 older guys that maybe need to reduce their snaps, you have a nice rotation there. Mm-hmm. And that allows you to take guys that maybe you can't see playing 85% of the snaps another season because of their age. I think it's definitely worth exploring. I'm sure the Chiefs are. Those are just some of the parts that they need to get there. And I think they will supplement with the draft pick, maybe some others, but they also have to accomplish one other major part. And that is in the midst of all this craziness. And we're going to talk about a couple of things that they got themselves out of here in the next segment, but they have to get Tyreek Hill done. And the craziness of the wide receiver group is, I think, lending itself towards get him locked down as soon as possible. Because, yes, there's some overinflated base numbers, AP-wise, in terms of how much they're getting paid per year, but there are a lot of twists in there, and I know you have those locked down. I expect that they're working on Hill right now, and they need to get that done. Do you agree, or am I teasing myself?
No, I think you're right. I think that they were looking at trying to get Hill done, and he wanted to see what the free agent market was going to bring, and I think that's smart on his part. So you would hope that he gives them a little bit of a discount just because – he wants to stay in Kansas City and he wants to play with Patrick. But, when it comes to players, they have to get all the money that they can possibly get because their careers are short. So I expect that he's going to still try to get a good contract. Christian Kirk's deal, and we'll talk about that in the next segment, is going to throw off a little bit of what Tyreek Hill's value is. And I think that's something that is going to need to be worked on by Kansas City. But, man, that is a different contract that we will get into here in just a minute. But you were talking about different parts that Kansas City needs and different things that they're going to have to address. When you start talking about parts, you have to talk about our friends over at Rock Auto. If you go check out Rock Auto, you can save time and money when using rockauto.com. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet for your car. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need, rockauto.com.
So a number of crazy things happened. Quick update. Right now, it doesn't look like Deshaun Watson is going to come to the AFC West. Might not come to the AFC at all, to tell you the truth. He's rejected the Seahawks. He's rejected the Indianapolis
I'm glad
Colts.
you brought that up. Yeah, he's only going to talk to 2 teams, it looks like.
And I'm digging it because they're both in the NFC. So, hey.
I am too, but I don't understand his thought process in those 2 teams. But that's a whole other ballgame.
It is a whole other ballgame. There's a lot of things that I don't understand, and this Christian Kirk contract is one of them. Giving a player who's never hit 1,000 yards, and quite frankly, I don't think is built to be a number 1 receiver in this league. An APY,
and I agree with that.
Right, of $21 million, 4 years, $84 million is the total of his contract. Now, I understand that a sizable chunk of that is incentive laden, so a base of 4 years, 72 is still ridiculously huge, and I think that's what throws off the Hill contract negotiations.
Yeah, so here we go. Christian Kirk, Jaguars deal, $72 million base, $84 max, $20 million signing bonus, salaries at 1.5 guaranteed, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where you can keep his number down. Signing bonus with the $1.5 million guaranteed means that it's a 4-year deal, right? So you're sitting there with $5 million, 6.5 guaranteed, or 6.5 of a cap number for Christian Kirk right now on his contract. So, and that doesn't include annual workout bonus of $500K for annual roster bonuses, and $3 million in incentives annually. $15.5 million guaranteed next year on his salary, 14.5 and 15.5. So really, this deal is a 2-year, $39 million deal for Christian Kirk. And while everybody's talking about the $84 million, and I get it, $19.5 million for Christian Kirk is still a ton of money.
I know, right?
I can't get it. And that's going to have ramifications for Kansas City and Tyreek Hill. Huge ramifications, because if Christian Kirk is worth $19.5 million a year, which is basically what he's getting right now, because that's his guarantee, what is Tyreek Hill worth? 25, 27?
Don't say it out loud.
I'm just saying.
That's the problem. I think it's the problem for the Chiefs, is that they're just not able to really compete with that. I mean, yes, they're able. There's all kinds of mechanics. Martellus will be working overtime. He'll be earning his money this week. But like it's just, I think they dodged a bullet. A lot of Chiefs fans wanted Kirk in Kansas City. Obviously, there's a Red Raiders connection. Like, yeah, right.
I wanted him.
This is one of the things that if the market was so grossly shifted for him, that I think this is a gross overvalue. That this is one of the bullets I think they dodged, because you just got to take yourself out of that and not let the craziness get to you.
Yeah, and I sat there, and I said this earlier today on Chiefs Corner. If you're giving him $12 million a year, I probably would have been okay with that. 19.5. I mean, reality is $12 million a year is not what it was 2 years ago. So to me, $12 million a year kind of works. 19.5 for Christian Kirk, it doesn't. Unless you think he's going to be your number 1 guy, which I don't think you can expect that. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiving year yet. Right. And I had somebody mention to me on Twitter that this means McCole Hardman's going to get paid next offseason. If McCole Hardman's getting paid like this contract, see ya.
Yeah.
No way.
Bye. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing you can do to change that. If that's the way it's going to be, then you just got to say adios. A couple of other things that I think they actually lucked out on. I know some Chiefs fans wanted them to look at Carlton Davis. We've heard that there was at least some kind of initial look at it, right? Carlton Davis ended up with 15 a year, and I don't think that's necessarily a true estimation of his worth either. He ends up going back to the Bucks, which after the Tom thing, and now with Jensen, like they are reloading as well. So they will still be a power out there in the NFC. I think,
but they lost Kappa to the Bengals.
Right. That is one.
Yeah, and so I think that they are going to lose. The Bengals are going to pick up another offensive lineman, I think I saw, but I can't remember who it was. So Tampa's going to lose a couple, but J.C. Jackson went to the Chargers. That's
the next one.
Yeah, but I think that is actually a good thing for Kansas City. And the reason I say that, he barely got Christian Kirk's number in a 4-year deal, and he had a 5-year deal. And so you look at what that could mean for a guy like Charvarius Ward. Charvarius Ward isn't Carlton Davis. I think Charvarius Ward's maybe a little bit below Carlton Davis. So if Carlton Davis is taking $15 million a year, what's that mean you could get Ward at? what's the value there? I think that makes bringing Ward back more tenable.
I think it does. I agree with you. And I think the only problem with that is I think it runs it up higher than I would say, because Travaris's people should be saying literally, if JC got that, then we should be at 14.5. And I think he's more of a $10 million player, to tell you the truth. So I actually see that as one that doesn't quite help them as much, because I think it does artificially raise Ward's asking price.
Maybe a little bit. I'd still say 12.5 and I'd be okay.
Yeah.
And I could probably even go as high as 13 or 14, because the cap is expected to jump to maybe 225, 235 next year. You give him a low deal this year and take it. He's 25 years old. That's the bigger thing that really sticks out to me in this deal. He got better and better and better in his time in Kansas City. I think he's still on the rise, and I think that if you sign him even to $14 million a year contract, I think you can get the value out of that contract, because in 3 years, $14 million is going to look like nothing for a corner.
That's fair. That's a very good way to look at it too. And with all those changes coming, you can see getting there as long as it ticks up like we quote unquote think it will. Let's hope so.
Well, and,
so
they got all this money that's coming into the league right now. So
yeah, and I think that's only going to increase here as we actually see the realization of some of the numbers, from betting, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But I will say this, long and short, I'm happy with where we see Brett Veach being so far. The Frank thing, I think, is a question mark. We want to see the numbers on Hill, but I'm glad they didn't make any splashes. I feel like overall they dodged what was an overinflated wide receiver market to this point. I think that's a plus. I think you can see them getting some things done with, like we talked about last week, some older and some more value veterans.
The very interesting thing is I keep hearing that they're going to restructure Patrick's deal on Friday. And I actually talked to Jason over the cap today, because I was curious about this. They have to be under the cap, and any roster bonuses that are on the cap for this year are counted as of Wednesday when the new league year opens. So that means that they don't get that. I was thinking maybe they got like a 2-day window where they could exercise the option to restructure and kick it out. No, they have to have that all accounted for Wednesday when the New Year League opens. So if they're going to restructure Patrick, I think it happens before the New Year League opens on Wednesday. And they don't wait till Friday, which is when it's actually due to be paid on Friday.
Yeah, I think it's done, because Patrick should be on his honeymoon right now and should be for the foreseeable future. Now, again, we did find out last year that they don't need his presence or his signature to execute the roster change.
Right, and a lot of those, and all the players that have restructures generally don't need that unless you're giving up money like Frank Clark is in this case. But I would say I know Patrick's on his honeymoon right now, and I'm sure he's enjoying his time and all that. But I bet he's probably available for a free agent call or two.
Yeah, you think?
I guarantee you that was part of the deal. Hey, I understand we're on a honeymoon, but honey, this is gonna take 5 to 10 minutes out of my time. Just my guess.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I want to leave you guys with one last thought. Not a peep about Von Miller yet. So maybe he's not going back to Denver. Maybe there's still a chance. I'd like to see him in a 50 number in Kansas City. But hey, that's where we are today. We hopefully will have more action tomorrow. We will let you know where they stand. Make sure you check it out. Hit us over on the YouTube comments. Let us know what you're worried about or what you'd like to see happen. Subscribe over on all the audio platforms. Leave us an iTunes review. Let us know what you think of how we're going about covering this week. Matt Derrick's going to be here tomorrow, and we have more content coming for you all week long. We are here 5 days a week for free everywhere. Thanks for spending your time with us, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.